Good morning. Thanks for tuning in. You're watching the F&O Show on BloombergQuint Live, India's first digital live streaming business news service. I'm Navneet Saluja D'Souza.
Good morning, Navneet. I'm Agam Vakil. Let's take a look at the headlines. It's a volatile start to the truncated week for Indian markets. The Nifty and the Sensex trade little change. IT index is the top laggard. Voltas and Ambuja are seeing a surge in open interest. Voltas sees fresh longs while Ambuja is seeing fresh shorts. Infosys is the top loser on the index after the whistleblower allegations. The stock also sees a surge in open interest towards fresh shorts. 5 Nifty companies, Asian Paints, Axis Bank, Kotak Mahindra Bank, Bajaj Finance and Bajaj Finserv will be reporting the second quarter numbers today.
All right, those are your top headlines at this hour, and it's going to be an earnings-packed day. A lot of Nifty constituents coming with the numbers, and a lot of them heavyweights like Reliance, HDFC Bank reacting to their numbers. But let's tell you what's happening with the markets on this Tuesday morning. We're off the opening levels, by the way, 11,700, which was seen as a big resistance mark. We did, by the way, cross that mark in the opening session, but we're off those levels now. The day high currently was about 11,714, and index is trading at 11,653. So we're off about 50-60 points from the opening levels. Bank Nifty is outperforming owing to the gains that you're seeing for heavyweights like ICICI Bank as well as HDFC Bank. So up about 1%, but even the broader markets are still holding up their gains. So you've got the mid-cap index sitting with gains of 100 points, small-cap index up about 40 points in trade. The market breadth is also in favor of the advances as we speak. As you can see on your screen, it's almost 2:1 on the advance decline ratio. But remember, even when we crossed the 11,700 mark in the opening trade, volatility was on the higher side. India Wix is still sitting with gains of about 3 to 3.5%, which may not be a comforting sign for the bulls. So watch out for India Wix, which is up about 4% as we speak. And Nifty IT index is down 3% owing to the sharp cuts that you're seeing for Infosys this morning. Nifty IT down about 3%, but some bit of gains seen for pharma, which is up 1.2%, and also you're seeing gains coming in for the FMCG index. HUL is up and about in today's session, so that's up about 0.8%. Very quickly then, what are the levels you should watch out on the index for this Thursday's expiry? The maximum open interest for this Thursday's expiry on the call side is it is at 11,700 and the 11,600 put strike. So it's a very narrow range, and we are seeing 11,000 call strike, witnessing a lot of OI addition at least till now. It is added about 6.5 to 7 lakh shares, whereas on the put side, 11,600 strike has added nearly 8 lakh shares. So on the upside, Agam, I think that's going to be the first mark. If we can close above the 11,700 mark, and clear support is now at 11,550.
Yeah, 11,550 is what we're watching out for. Let's also take a look at all the stocks which are buzzing in trade on the back of, well, potentially increase in open interest. And I'm sure that you will have some of your usual suspects, and Infosys is right at the top of that list. It's 37% increase in open interest. The stock's down 13%. There's a lot of weakness on account of the whistleblower allegations. We have a sharp surge in Shree Cement, which is up 6%. It's a stock that doesn't usually show up on your top gainers list. And of course, it's a very largely priced stock as well. So, you don't have as much participation from the retail there. Torrent Pharma and Kotak Mahindra Bank, among others, not seeing too much change in the spot price, but there's an accumulation of the same in Ambuja Cement under pressure right now. That's down 5.5%, 7% increase in open interest there. Moving on, let's talk about stocks which are seeing some amount of unwinding. Tata LC is one of them, a decline. Longs unwinding potentially. Of course, this is after the stock has given away, considering we really didn't see too much coming in from Brexit front. Tata Motors DVR similarly down around 4%. But besides that, not much to speak for otherwise. Well, on the whole, of course, continue to keep focus on earnings and Infosys.
Yes, Infosys and how we've been even tracking the options of that. On the show today, by the way, we will be discussing some very important stocks, and Infosys does feature in that. It's slipped below its 200-day moving average after the fall that we've seen in today's session, and we'll discuss the options at length with our experts on the show. The stock slipped below its 200-day moving average. Shree Cement is the other one, reacting positively to the numbers, which were very good in terms of realizations and volume growth, and the stock today is trading around its 100-day moving average. And Piramal up for the third straight day. Remember, it's a beaten down counter, but we have seen recovery in the last 3 days. The numbers pretty much were on the decent side for Piramal.
Okay. Well, on that note, let's get in our experts for the show. But before that, here's a reminder. If you have any queries regarding futures and options markets, you can call us on 022-454-04141 or, of course, write to us on Twitter, Facebook and YouTube with the AskBQ hashtag. Today we have with us Amit Shah of Bob Capital Markets, and we will be joining in just some time with Nirav Chheda of Nirmal Bank Securities. But for now, let's start off with Amit. How are you seeing things pan out for the indices there?
Good morning, Agam and Navneet. So, we had a good start in the last 6 trading sessions. We are having a good rising top and rising bottom formation. And now it's nearing to a key resistance mark, which is close to around 11,700 odd. If you look at this week, call writers as well as Navneet likely highlighted during the start of the show that it's concentrated at 11,700. But even the put supportive action is seen close to the supportive action of 11,550 to 11,600 odd. So even technically, these levels are quite matching at this point of time.
Right.
We are seeing the momentum support close to around 11,550, and on the upside, considering the March 2019 odd, the highs also, the July 2019 odd, the highs were seen around 11,700 odd. So that will act as a key resistance on a closing basis. The moment it starts hovering above 11,700 odd and sustains maybe a week above that, then we can see some momentum again getting built up towards the key resistance of 12,000 to 12,100 odd mark. Sure. So till the time Nifty is hovering above 11,500, 550, I believe it can see some kind of a time consolidation. But once it crosses 11,700, again the fresh buying momentum can pick in.
Okay, so those are some important levels to keep an eye on according to Amit. You're suggesting some strategy, Amit, a calendar spread on Nifty?
Yeah, so I'm recommending a horizontal calendar spread. Now here it's the strike prices are same but a different expiry. Now as I expect that Nifty is now towards the resistance mark of 11,700, we can see some kind of a time consolidation. So to utilize this time consolidation, hopefully, we can sell a 11,700 this week strike call option. The premium is hovering somewhere around 105 at this point.
Okay.
And keeping the stance on the bullish side, I would recommend the expiry closing, the monthly expiry, which is the 31st of October expiry closing, to buy the same strike price, 11,700 strike. The premium right now is around 55 odd. So the risk is mainly to manage this 3 days, 3 to 4 days towards this week expiry, where my risk can be unlimited considering I have written the call option. So to mitigate that risk, I would recommend a closing stop loss on the spot Nifty at 11,710. Okay. So the more it sustains above that level, that's the key resistance mark. As I mentioned, since July onwards, we are struggling to cross that mark.
Just a question, Amit. Do you close the position together because one is October 24th position and the other is October 31st?
Yeah, that's an interesting take. I would rather ride on to the 31st of October expiry, because that's where I feel that there can be a more of delta. In case if it crossing 710, we can expect good rollovers. If you see the overall Nifty open interest till today, it is muted compared to what we have seen the last expiry. It's hovering around 1 crore 55 odd lakh shares. Okay. So I don't see much of a open interest traction which has built in this series. So if it goes above 700, I believe there can be long bets which can play on towards the rollover week.
Well, it's not too far away from 11,700. But, for those who are not initiated, and this is a strategy that we don't always come across, so I'm going to explain it a little further. A calendar is comprised of a short option in the near-term expiration and a long option in the longer-term expiration cycle, and both options are of the same type and the same strike. And of course, as Amit has already explained right now, that he is looking to sell the 11,700 24th expiry option and also at the same time buy the 11,700 call for the October 31st expiry. That said, let's shift focus to stocks then, Amit. What's on your list today?
So I have 2 buy recommendation. First buy is on Voltas. The stock has been quite strong, steady since last few months, has been making a good higher top, higher bottom formation. If I just look at the positional structure of the chart, since December 2017, the stock has been hovering in the band of 650 to almost 500 odd range.
Right.
So we are talking about a close to consolidation of 2 years. So any consolidation breakout after such a long time frame, of course, gets a good buying traction and can see a series of higher top, higher bottom formation in the coming time. So the stock has given a good convincing breakout and has been sustaining quite steadily above the resistance mark of 660 odd. So I believe the more it sustains above that, there can be a good rally on the upside. My immediate stop loss level for the stock is at 680, and on the upside one can expect a short-term target of close to 730 odd.
Okay.
My other buy recommendation is Tata Global. The stock again overall has seen a good traction of open interest and volume in the coming few weeks. The stock has given a clear breakout in the shorter term, which is around 285 odd. Right now just struggling around those marks. So I believe the more it sustains about 285, the more strength it will build in. On the downside, one can keep a stop loss of 278 and can look for target towards 300 to 310.
Okay.
Okay, so those are two long calls coming in from Amit on the consumption stocks, Tata Global Beverages, and also on Voltas. Let's get going and start discussing the stocks that we want to take view on. And of course, Infosys right on top. And Agam, since morning you've been explaining what does it mean for the company. One more clarification coming out from the chairman and then Nilekani stating that now the issue is placed with the audit committee and they'll have to wait and what the investigations throw up. But you know, technically, a lot of people were talking how there was a big position taken on the 740 put strike, but for the November series, we were expecting some bit of unwinding to take place. That's not happened actually. Hardly any 2,000 shares have been unwound there as we speak. So whoever has taken that position, by the way, it is still intact. But let me tell you, the options of Infosys have always been very, very liquid. And as we speak, the 680 call strike and the 700 call strike is witnessing a lot of writing today. So both these strikes have added between 17 to 23 lakh shares. And there's a big addition which has come in on the 600 put strike, which has added about 17 lakh shares. That's throwing you a range of between 600 to about 700 on Infosys. Amit, it slipped below the 200-day moving average with today's fall. What do you do here?
So the gaps are always disappointing to see on the technical front, especially the gap which are on the lower side. It takes very time to heal those gaps and it calls for a time consolidation with a negative downtrend. So in my sense, the stock has created a gap close to 750 to almost 680 odd levels. It's a gap of 70 odd points. So definitely it's a 10% gap which will take a lot of time according to me to heal. In case if the stock is not sustaining and continues to sustain below 680, 690 odd mark, I believe the selling pressure can continue in the space. If I look at the overall broader structure on the monthly time frame, the stock has the next support which is close to around 625 odd. The today's low is 640 odd. So that's another like 8% odd downside from here on. So in case if it violates 625, 620 on a sustained basis, then possibly there can be some more time and price weakness. I can see the stock having a strength or some kind of a buying the price correction. It's only beyond above 710. Unless 710 is not crossed, I believe every upside can be short-lived.
Okay, well, there you have it. That said, let's also talk about, we can talk about Shree Cement. Again, it's not a stock that we usually discuss, but today it is seeing a surge in open interest. Also that it belongs to a stock with a category of 20,000 rupees per share. And well, not above in this case, but it's still a reasonably expensive stock. Also that the price per share is, of course, a very large one. But I'm not very sure as to how liquid the stock is, because Page Industries, you know, in comparison is the other one which is around the same at around 19,000. It or has been, as is the case for Eicher Motors, basically a 5-figure digit stock or 5-digit stock. So it is seeing an up move around 5.5%. Amit, can you tell us anything about the liquidity here? It is seeing some strength. How would you trade it? What levels would you watch out for?
So definitely the liquidity in such counters like you mentioned, Shree Cement and Page Industries, is always a concern. But I believe for a retail client, someone who is buying a lesser number of lots compared to institution clients, it's always good to have these kind of a strong counters which can see a good price momentum once they are in their momentum. So in my sense, the stock has seen a good short covering till yesterday. If we look at the open interest and price data, the open interest had shedded by around 4% odd. And if we see today, the open interest has increased close to around 12% with a substantial price rise, giving a gap on the lower side. So it has some minor resistance around 20,500 odd. I believe the rally can continue towards those levels. Post that, it can see some price and time consolidation. But looking at the broader structure, I believe the stock has seen on a last 4 months time frame a consolidation close to around from 22,000 to 17,000 odd. So I believe the time correction is done. It's just the price activity will start picking in. The conviction will get built in once it shows a monthly closing about 20,500. That's where the stock will gain more fresh buying participation.
Right.
Okay, and very quickly, let's cover Piramal Enterprises as well, a stock which is reacting to its numbers. But remember, this is a beaten down stock. It has corrected sharply on year-to-date basis. But this morning, it's the top F&O gainer. It's up 7%. Some bit of the futures, by the way, are trading at a discount of about 17 points. It's up for the third straight day. The profit growth was about 15%. Revenues grew by about 18% here. Amit, with the move that we've seen in the last 3 trading session, does it change anything on the charts? Because the stock was in a downtrend.
No, I would completely avoid. If you look at the open interest till Friday, the open interest has surged close to around 68% with a price correction of 17%. So that definitely shows that there has been a lot of short built up. In case today, the open interest has just increased by around 4.5%. So if we look at the overall short additions, it's just some minor pullback what it has been seeing in the last 3 days. So if you look at the broader structure, the stock has already violated the key support of close to around 1800, where it had struggled in the last 3 to 4 months, and it has been sustaining way below that. So unless and until the stock doesn't cross 1800 to 1820 odd, I believe this is just an uptick to the overall intensity on the downside. So on the upside, the immediate resistance is seen around 1800 to 1830. Unless these levels are not crossed, I believe this is just a pullback to the entire correction.
Okay, well, that's Piramal Enterprises for you. And on that note, let me also address perhaps a bunch of other stocks which are also buzzing in trade. And I also want to get in a view on, well, perhaps something like, Kotak Mahindra Bank, or for that matter, Axis Bank. How do we brace for the earnings today? So Kotak Mahindra Bank is down around 0.5% today, an open interest increase of around 11%, no more than that. But of course, there will be a lot of positioning here as far as your earnings are concerned. And the other one is Axis Bank. Let's pull that up as well and take a look at what that one is doing, because these are the two important earnings. Axis Bank is actually not doing too much. These are the two important earnings from the private sector banking space that we are bracing for. I think, Amit, I'm going to talk about Kotak Mahindra Bank in this case, because that looks like a little more interesting. What's going on here? What are your readings saying?
So see, the stock has seen a good rally from 1450 odd levels to almost 1680, and in the last 7 to 8 trading sessions, it has been consolidating in the band of 1570 to 1620 in a 50-point band range. So to me, in case if someone wants to play a result, playing a long straddle will make a lot of sense, where you buy a 1600 call as well as a 1600 put. Considering the last 8 to 10 days of consolidation which the stock has seen in this 3% range, it is more likely, in case if the result is whether favorable or unfavorable, you are bound to get some kind of volatility into this. So to play the volatility, a long straddle would make sense, where 1600 strike price of call and put can be considered as buying opportunity.
Okay.
All right, that's Kotak Mahindra Bank. It will be in focus ahead of its numbers. Last 6 months, the stocks gained about 18%. Amit, we leave it at that note. Appreciate you joining us and taking us through your views on the markets. And well, talking about the markets, Nifty is still trading with some bit of cuts. 11,640 is the level. Remember, on the downside, 11,600 is something we can watch out for, because that's a strike, put strike, which has added a lot of open interest so far. But it's earnings season, and you've got AU Small Finance Bank's second quarter earnings, which were above what the analyst was estimating this time around. The asset quality saw an improvement, while overall disbursements too saw a 30% jump. Let's discuss the quarter gone by with Sanjay Agarwal, the MD and CEO of the company. Mr. Agarwal, good morning to you, and thanks a lot for joining us today on BloombergQuint. Congratulations, by the way, on good set of numbers. A healthy AUM growth of about 38%. Even on sequential basis, we've seen the AUM growing by about 9%. Is this a rate that you can sustain in the second half of this fiscal as well? Mr. Agarwal, if you can hear us, the AUM growth that you've posted for the September quarter grew by 38%. There was a growth seen on sequential basis as well. Could you tell us if this rate can be sustained going into the second half of the fiscal as well?
Thank you for hosting me. And of course, because traditionally also the first 6 months is always give you around 40% of your disbursement, roughly around 40-45%, right? So, and the second half is always better than first half because of the festival season, the kind of product we deal in, which is wheels, home loans, SBL. So I hope that, this can continue for next 2 quarters also. But in the longer run, I believe the kind of franchise we are building, this growth is sustainable.
Okay, Mr. Agarwal, can you tell us a little more about how, if we would break the disbursement into retail and corporate, the kind of trends that you're witnessing and what we can expect going forward in the next couple of quarters?
So, as I told you, we are more of a retail franchise. So we do more wheels, SBL, home loans, CDs, personal loans, the business banking, agri banking. So larger growth has come from these sectors. Our 90% asset growth has come from the retail side, right? And that too in a geographies like which is more deeper into the Indian rural and semi-urban markets, and 10% is around corporate, which is we actually don't deal in corporates, right? It's more about SME mid corporate, right? So that is around 10% only. So I think the kind of consumption story India has, and the economy even growing by 5%, give us enough room to build from here. And so for next 2 quarters, I believe that this kind of growth numbers are there.
Okay, and a word on your asset quality, which has been stable, I believe, for the quarter gone by. But the provisions, Mr. Agarwal, I think they increased to 61 crore versus 31 that we'd seen at the end of the June quarter. What are the trends there? What sort of provisions one can expect now going into the second half?
Yeah, so asset quality is one thing which we are very proud of, honestly, because we believe that the kind of franchise we are building over the years, there is a lot of focus on lending and also collection. So our asset quality has remained under the range, which is around 1.9 to 2%. Even we are growing by 40% year on year, our asset remain in very good shape. And I think that will continue in next phase of growth also. And I believe that it's about granularity, which is making us in this position. So our assets are secure, our assets are productive, and it's very, very, granularly distributed among our geographies. So that is helping us to be in that range. And I believe that from here onwards, it will only get better off, And there are 2 more things, which we have faced in last 10 quarters, which is one, NPA classification as per RBI is different in NBFC than a bank, and of course from last April we have also started tagging our NPA from daily NPA kind of story. So even that, even after that also we are able to manage and show you this kind of asset quality.
Okay, and Mr. Agarwal, if you could also tell us a little more about how disbursements are panning out in terms of trends when it comes to, new vehicles as well as MSMEs?
So I think these are 2 different product lines. So I think we are also seeing that new sale is not happening in that level which we would have expected in this last 6 months. But I think there is a lot of change around value proposition for buying for second-hand cars or second-hand vehicles. Many people are finding it more value than previous because there is a lot of organized way of working has happened in that sector. So there are a lot of second-hand car dealers, organized, unorganized. There's a lot of clarity on the vehicle availability is standard, So a lot of people want to move from first-hand to second-hand. And that is, where we are also applied our mind, our franchise, and have built right kind of product delivery mechanism. So I hope that any drop in new sales, new car sale or new vehicle sale can be compensated by our second-hand vehicle focus, So our growth in terms of vehicle finance will continue with us with a range of 25 to 30%. MSME, SBL, which we call internally, is very low-end businesses which need more money to run their businesses, right, for daily activities. So that opportunity is so humongous that does not depend on the economic environment, right? So we just need to build our franchise. We just need to build our better distribution setup. We have to build to our sales, collection, operations, credit. To actually win those markets. So, and that market will give us around 30-35% growth year on year. Housing we have just started, from last around 4 or 5 quarters, and that is also shaping up well. And because of non-availability of larger HFCs and maybe another NBFCs, HFCs, we are still finding our market, availability and opportunity towards bank. So that 3 businesses we really want to grow more and more.
Okay, Mr. Agarwal, we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for joining us and talking to us here on BloombergQuint. That's the management of AU Small Finance Bank. Well, steady earnings coming through. And there you have it. And that's the reason why we are looking at gains of nearly 4% in today's day of trade. But we have reached the end of this show. So I am going to, well, of course, wrap this edition of the F&O Show. But don't forget, for more updates on the futures and options space, you can always check our website out, BloombergQuint.com, specifically the futures and options pages.
Well, you can stay tuned to BloombergQuint for more news and updates. Thanks a lot for watching the show.